The Assassin's Creed series has been around for years now, and ever since its inception in 2007, we've seen many entries in the franchise. And ever since 2017's Assassin's Creed Origins, the series has changed to a more action RPG approach, which is far from what the series started off like. And for the past few years, the series has been making a few appearances on Switch, with Assassin's Creed 3 and 4 and their side games making the jump to Switch. But now it's time for the acclaimed Ezio trilogy to make its Nintendo debut. So let's see how they did, shall we? The Ezio collection originally released on other consoles all the way back in 2016, and it was a sort of stopgap whilst the series was reinventing itself with Origins. Ezio collection contains, as you can guess, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, as well as all the single player DLC that was released and a couple of short movies as well, to make for a pretty hefty package. Unfortunately, the multiplayer part of Brotherhood and Revelations aren't included here, which is a shame, as it was quite a fun time waste back in the day, and would love to see it return in the future. As for the setup of these games, I'll try and give you a quick and brief overview of each entry. Assassin's Creed 2 kicks off Ezio's story, showcasing a huge family tragedy that happens that ultimately leads him to the path to becoming the assassin in Renaissance Italy, even teaming up with the legendary Leonardo da Vinci. Brotherhood continues straight on from Assassin's Creed 2 and sees him going to Rome to rebuild the Assassin's Brotherhood. And finally, Revelations acts as a fitting farewell to Ezio, as well as Assassin's Creed 1's protagonist Altair as well. Next up, I'm going to be talking about each game separately and give you a quick roundup. So first up is Assassin's Creed 2, and this game took what worked in Assassin's Creed 1 and built upon it to make for a much better and refined sequel. A title that won many Game of the Year awards back in 2009, and all these years later, the game is certainly starting to show its age. But it's still a fun game, but the gameplay missions can be a bit repetitive, as is the open world busy work. Plus, if you've only played the newer entries, you might not be a big fan of the counter-heavy combat, but it's still a fun trip down memory lane, especially for those who are nostalgic to revisit this game, and it is great to see it on a Nintendo console after all these years. As for Brotherhood, it continues where the last game left off, and it does feel like a nice little improvement over Assassin's Creed 2, with a decent story, fun map to explore, and loads of enjoyable activities to do. Missions also do feel a bit better here, though the tailor missions are still as annoying as they were back in the day. But if you enjoyed Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood is just literally more the same, but a little bit better. And finally, we have Revelations, which is arguably my favourite in the collection, mainly due to it feeling more like Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, which were my first introductions to the series. But Revelations for some was where the series started to get a bit repetitive, and I can totally get that. This one moves the action to Constantinople, which is a fairly nice looking open area to explore, especially with the new hook blade that makes for easy traversal. There's also some tower defense activities here, and they're a nice change of pace too. It's also worth mentioning, as with all AC games, there is modern day sections, and these ones all feature Desmond Miles. Remember him? Yeah, these sections really do take away from the action and kinda get annoying. Thankfully, later games got rid of the Desmond parts and did try to change up the modern day sections a bit, but in my honest opinion, I was never really a fan of them, bar maybe the ones in Black Flag, which were kinda cool and a bit meta. Lengthwise, as I said before, there's plenty of content here with 3 mainline games and their DLC bits to complete. Each mainline game's storyline can easily take you upwards of 20 hours plus to complete. Add in the side missions and open world activities the series is known for, and you're easily talking a good 40 hours to 100% each game. So for your money, you're getting a good 100 plus hours worth of content if you want to see and do everything. But as with most Switch re-releases, it's known that these games are full retail, and Ezio Collection is no different. On the eShop at the time of writing, it's going for 45 quid, which is ridiculous for such an old release of even older games. There is a physical release that I'm seeing going around for the early £30 to £35 mark, which isn't too bad, but it comes with the caveat that only Assassin's Creed 2 is on the cartridge, and you have to download the other two games, which could take upwards of 35 gigabytes, which is a pretty hefty ask, especially if you haven't got a micro SD card. It's also worth noting that there's a few Switch exclusive features here, such as the obvious ability to play these games in portable play, which is certainly cool when you think how massive these games were back in the day, and to play them on such a portable device is really impressive. You also have HD Rumble, which is always a nice addition, as well as touchscreen controls, which is something you don't see many Switch games take advantage of, as the Switch does have a touchscreen. Presentation side of things now, and these games were obviously cutting edge back in the day, especially AC2 back in 2009, but on Switch the games are now starting to look their age. We do have a nice little boost in visuals. AC2 looks a bit more sharper with better lighting, but like its previous release on the PS4 and Xbox One, there's still some dodgy looking NPCs and vistas about. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood fares a bit of the same, but it's Revelations that is the best looking title in the collection, which isn't a surprise considering it's the most recent, and it does look similar in style to like Black Flag and AC3. All games look great on the Switch OLED, especially Revelations, which looks honestly fantastic. As with the frame rates, they're pretty solid, aiming for 30 FPS and for the most part staying there, but the games are likely to drop frames quite a bit when the action gets busy. Also notice some of the loading screens can be a tad long, and I also encountered a few glitches here and there. Nothing game breaking, just your typical open world jank that makes you laugh more than groan. Conclusion time now. An Assassin's Creed Ezio collection on the Switch is a welcome addition to the Switch's library and marks the first time they're on a Nintendo system. The games are certainly starting to show their age in both visuals and gameplay department, but they still remain a lot of fun and a great look back on how the series found its feet. Add in the fact you've got upwards of 100 hours worth of content here, and there's a lot to see and do. But the games fall into the trapping of other Switch ports by being expensive and having huge extra downloads for the physical edition. But if you've never played these games before, then you're in for a treat. So with that, I'm giving Assassin's Creed the Ezio collection on the Switch a 7 out of 10 with the title of good. As always, thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be totally awesome. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.